Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Agents of MACE. Today, we're following up with She-Hulk and what she's doing in episode 2, and boy, oh boy, I don't know. It's a weird episode because I feel like nothing really happens, but it's an exciting episode because a lot happens. If that makes any sense. I feel like it's definitely a setup episode, whereas last episode was sort of like a condensed origin episode. This episode is very much like a what are we dealing with this season episode. We don't really get our first glimpse of Abomination. We get a previous glimpse of Abomination. We do get a joke or two about the fact that Hulk is changed since Abomination, but we'll get there in due time. I think overall I enjoyed the episode, and I'm excited to talk about the second post-credit scene, which, oh my gosh, 2 episodes in a row we've gotten a post-credit scene?
Well, they already announced we're getting a post-credit in every single episode.
Oh, I missed that announcement. But
How
that's
did you
exciting.
miss it? Because we talked about it in the last episode.
Oh, I don't know. I glazed over it, I guess. But no, I didn't realize that. But that's exciting. But, I do hope that maybe they lean a little bit more into prep for next episode. Post-credit scene?
Yeah, that's the question, like, that Elise and I were talking about, is like we know, which is pretty awesome, that we're getting post-credits in every episode, but the question is like how many are going to be throwaway versus how many are going to be building into more of the story.
So hopefully we get a little bit more story stuff moving forward.
Yeah.
But I'm fine with these fun little, it's just something. I just wanted something, and now we have something, so that's great.
Yeah.
Hello everyone, this is Elisa of Agents of MACE at an undisclosed location, which is somewhere in my house, but I'm not telling you where. And I'm here to share my thoughts on this week's She-Hulk, episode 2, Superhuman Law. Okay, so where we open in the episode, we kind of cut back to what happened at the end of the last one, where Jennifer was in the middle of a big case. She was doing final arguments, and then Titania showed up, and Jen hulked out, got rid of Titania, saved the jurors, and now that's caused the trial to be declared a mistrial because the jurors would side with Jen because she saved their lives. We also learned that Titania was basically just trying to escape traffic court, which, girl, relatable. So Jen also loses her job. She tries around in a bunch of different law firms, but despite the fact that she's gotten really popular as She-Hulk, she's become a hero to a lot of people. And people are the ones also who call her She-Hulk, and she hates it. She wants any other name besides She-Hulk, I think. She can't find a job because they consider her to be a liability and a sideshow. And so we see her looking like wistfully at random jobs all over the world. That, she Googled like fresh start jobs. And so she's worried that she's not even going to be able to use these skills that she's honed over the years, this education that she says that she took out 6 figures in student loans to get, which is her passion. She's already said she doesn't really want to be a superhero. She wants to be a lawyer. She also, when people suggest, or her friends suggest, that she just become a superhero, she says she doesn't even know if the Avengers make a salary or get health care, which is a real question. We know from The Falcon and the Winter Soldier that they don't really get paid. Not exactly. People are sometimes kind and send them some money. I imagine that when Tony was around, he probably didn't let his friends go without stuff. But as far as a healthcare plan, I'm guessing not. Not least of which because most of them have some sort of healing or regenerative powers, which Jennifer probably honestly does have, because we know that Bruce as Hulk is extremely hard to injure or get sick. She also asks about maternity leave, which, good question. Again, I would think not, because first of all, there aren't enough girls on the team to warrant that kind of consideration. God. And also because it's not like they like punch a clock. She's not required to be there a certain number of days per year. So maternity leave would probably take care of itself. If she decided to take time to be with her child, she'd probably be good. So don't write off the Avengers quite yet, Jen. You probably have it all taken care of.
So, yeah, I guess, what are your first thoughts for this episode?
Short and sweet. It's not a very long episode. This is like 26 minutes. So kind of gives you a feel of like what they're doing. Is this, we're probably going to get another season where everything bounces around in terms of length. For what it is, it's a very tight episode, but it kind of covers like, I think the core foundation of like where this is going. Like you said, like being like a superhero-esque show, you do kind of expect action-y events to go on, but we're also dealing with just like a more grounded episode, right? Because you definitely get that old school like Peter Parker vibe of like, well, crap, like how do I like make all of this stuff work? And I think they definitely bring up some solid points that we've discussed in past episodes. I think some of the jokes or some of the moments in this were a little bit too like set up, like we'll get to him in a second, but there's like, of course, like the big Silence of the Lambs ones. Like, I mean, you see that coming, like, it's just kind of like, I don't know, it just makes it feel lazy to me. I call that like, I feel like with a lot of these episodes, I always go like, these are so lazy. Like, why are they doing this? Like, get more clever with like setting things up and pulling these kind of moments and jokes and references. But, yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It's fine. I think the Easter eggs in this are what's really cool because this kind of sets up it's setting up the bigger world of what's going on right now.
Well, I think to start, one thing that I really enjoy from Marvel in general is they've been taking a lot more of what's happening in the universe and giving it like real world consequences.
Yeah.
As far as like how would people actually deal with a situation like this. Of course, it's still a comic book, so it's a little bit less, out there. But also we have to think that the events of this show are happening long after the Avengers have been a thing and the world's almost been destroyed twice. And so the moment where she gets fired from her job and he explains why he's firing her, it was like, oh yeah, I mean, that's probably like something that would happen in a real world situation like that.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, the government is going to try to control anyone with super abilities and anything like that, but like we've already dealt with all that through the other series, so this is just kind of like everyone accepts that they're superpowered people.
Yeah. It's kind of like it's not you, it's me type moment.
Yeah.
It's just like, look, you're great. You did a great thing, but you're a liability.
Exactly.
You gotta go.
Yeah. We can't ever win cases because people are just going to want to give it to you.
Yeah.
So I thought that's a fun thing that Marvel is doing, where they're taking these situations and making them as like air quote realistic as possible. We also early on get a moment where we get to see what her phone background is, and it's Captain America's butt. She talked about it a lot in episode 1, and there it is.
Yeah.
Episode 2. I feel like a lot of the, sort of like you said, a lot of the like Easter eggy things, they're getting a little bit better at like showing them but not drawing attention to them. Whereas I feel like in the last couple series, it's been like someone would like pick it up and shove it in your face and be like, hey, look at my background's Captain America's butt. Or in this, it was just like, it was there, and if you weren't paying attention, then you probably didn't see it. But
like, do we want to go ahead and just talk about the biggest one?
Sure.
Wolverine's referenced.
Where? I didn't see that or hear that.
You didn't see that?
No. I'm excited.
There's a screen. Hang on, let me find it real quick. So there's a moment where So kind of, I mean, we kind of set it up. Basically, the start of this episode, she gets fired, and so she's basically put on this job hunt, and where it's constantly just going through, you know, uh, just all of these various businesses that are just like, nope, not hiring, can't hire you, sorry. And so there's a moment where you see a screen where it says like 10 offbeat jobs for a fresh start. And then if you look in the corner, which there is a QR code, I'm not sure what the QR code takes you to, so we'll have to verify that. But there's a section that says Iron Man's threes, and then it has related articles. And the first one says, "Man fights with metal claws in bar brawl."
I didn't see that. Now I have to go back and watch it.
The one right below this, though, because this also is set, a lot of this is setting up like where this is taking place in the timeline, and we'll get to to another big moment, which is at the very end. But the article right below that is why there is a giant statue of a man sticking out of the ocean.
Okay. So the eternal.
And then there's a third one, but I can't read the full thing. It says scientists discover something inside, but that's all I can see based on the image.
Okay. Maybe
but
another round.
Wolverine.
Yeah, that's
exists.
Super exciting. That is, I'm hoping that means we will start to see some more mutants, or at least
even like when even like one of the earlier lines, as she's basically being, so she's going through like application after application, just getting denied, and finally she's just like sitting at a bar where essentially the people that fired her want to rehire her. And this is where we kind of get this introduction of like, well, we're kind of built out our own division. But as she's being brought into the office, they kind of reference like there's all these people with superhuman abilities now. To me, I'm viewing that as like mutants. Like this is now building out this world where mutations are now here. We don't really know the origin in terms of the MCU of like all this as of yet, but it seems like mutants are now around. Like people are coming forward like, I've got these weird abilities, like I'm getting sued. Who knows what's going on, right?
And it seems like that's like the I don't know what this season, like the lawyer side of the season kind of is leading towards. There's all these new people with powers, and there's even the moment where they're having the family dinner. The mom is like, oh, there's this guy at work and he wants to be a superhero, and it's like, oh, okay, does he want to be a superhero because he has powers or abilities?
Exactly, yeah.
And same with her team. I'm wondering, she's now the head of this superhero protection division at this law firm, and they want her to be in She-Hulk form at all times.
Yeah.
Are the other people on this team also powered in some way?
That's the question, is like, what's really going on? Like, the people that started this division, are they mutants? Like, I guess that's the underlying question is like, let's say mutants do exist right now and that she's around them. How long had they been around? Like, how many of them can actually fully control their powers and they can keep it a secret versus like the people that are just discovering their powers and accidents happen and they're getting sued or lose, whatever. Like,
or could it be like the snap? Are we maybe thinking that the snap, when the people came back, the blip, when the people came back, that maybe their latent powers that they had are now brought to the surface, and so they're all
possible. I mean, they could utilize the blip in this way of like, this is how that happens.
Because the Terrigen Mist is sort of like the catalyst for a lot of mutant activity, especially with newer mutants in the MC or in the comics. I know that like, comic book accurate would be that mutants have always been here, but they kind of redid some of that with the Terrigen Mist to create new mutants. But we've already kind of, a big part of that storyline is Miss Marvel, and we've already seen that they're kind of altering that. So I don't know. I don't know if it is just sort of like they've always been here and now they're coming out, or
I don't know.
it's interesting.
It's the question, because I'm curious to see how much of Tim Roth and Abomination are we going to see? Like, is this entire season really going to be focused around a case for Abomination, or is it only going to be like maybe the next few episodes, and then it kind of is it going to introduce? I could see this kind of maybe potentially closing with a case related to a known mutant.
Well, we're definitely going to have to get Wong at some point. Just the way
Wong's,
this episode ends.
And the way, so she gets the job. It's great. She's excited. She's in She-Hulk form. And they basically tell her, like, oh, your first case is Abomination, and, like, if you don't take it, you're fired. Kind of forcing her into it. I thought the moment where she calls Bruce, because she, like, knows about his past and, like, their fight and what they dealt with, was pretty interesting. That, like, it's just there's like this whole like Zen vibe between them all. I'm wondering where that comes from. I'm wondering if there's a moment we're gonna see where maybe Wong pulled Hulk and Abomination together and was just like, look, you gotta like be chill about this.
Work it out. Yeah, I don't know. I do think that Abomination in this case are going to be a bigger role in this season, but I'm more so thinking that the head of this law firm that she's at now is not a good guy, because like immediately he's like, this is the case you're working on, we're going to get him out. And it was like, oh, but that seems a little rushed. But then, she also mentions that like Abomination makes a lot of good points. That, the government did it to him. He didn't want it. The only reason he went on the rampage was because of the super soldier serum, all this stuff. And it's kind of like, is he making good points though? Because like, I mean, he did all that stuff. Like, we just watched that movie. It's not like he's going crazy. It's not like Hulk, right? Like Hulk has a whole nother person. Bruce Banner has a whole nother personality inside of him that is Hulk. That's not the case with Abomination. So that was all him. And I feel like Jen like really jumped on it and was like, oh yeah, he's making good points. And it's like, I don't know. So I don't know if like Abomination's going to become a villain in this, or if the head of the law firm is maybe working with, maybe we'll get a new General Ross, and like that's who he's working for, and he's trying to get Abomination back so they can experiment on him or something. I don't know. I just feel like it's not an okay situation.
Yeah, I definitely expect we're gonna see is it Valentina? I feel like we'll see Valentina show up again. If she's building this alternate Avengers team, like that's probably got to be like a post-credit scene near the end.
I mean, hope so. We haven't seen her in a while, so
yeah,
it's time to bring her back.
She's around. She's got to pop in at some point. And we didn't really see anything regarding. I need to get familiar with the names. Who's the main She-Hulk villain that we see in the first episode?
Oh, Titania.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm surprised we didn't see anything related to like her character.
Yeah, they just sort of like offhandedly mention that like she caused the outbreak in the first episode. But then, they don't talk about, like, is she in prison? Is She-Hulk going to have to, like, work a case for her or like anything like that. It was just like, yeah. So yeah, that's interesting.
I'd say that's like probably the annoying things that I've found with these first 2 episodes is like you kind of show something and then it's just quickly brushed off without any deeper explanation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why can't we get 45-minute episodes where we can actually go a little bit further to build out what's going on? Because this kind of goes back into like when she's having her conversation with Bruce, and he's like, or I guess at this point, Smart Hulk, and it's just like, oh, no big deal. Yeah, that's in the past. Water in the bridge. Like, namaste. We're totally cool. You can go talk with him. And then, like, as it zooms out, he's on a ship in outer space, like going into hyperspeed. The question is like, is this the ship that came down that caused them to crash?
So yeah, this is something that I know you guys talked about and I talked about last week as well, that the ship has, I guess, implications of what could be this season or could be a greater MCU thing.
Yeah.
You know, the ship comes down, it causes them to crash. That's the first time we see the ship. They're just like, it's a Sicarian ship. So it is, the ship that he's on is the ship that caused them to crash. The question is, does that have anything to do with this season? Or is that something that like is going to come up in one of the MCU movies where like Hulk has to go and like he's on Sicaria and we know that because we saw it in She-Hulk? Or is this just a lazy way to get Hulk? Like they had to have Hulk in the first episode to create She-Hulk. And then they were like, okay, well, we can't have Hulk here to help her, so let's just send him away.
Yeah.
Is this like a Captain Marvel situation where they're just like, well, you're too strong, you can't be here, so...
Could be. Like, seeing that we see the ship again and he's on it, another question is like, was there anyone on the ship to begin with? Or was this remotely sent to pick him up? Like, clearly... he's not stressed about this at all.
Right.
So he like, it's kind of setting this up like he, you know, if we are leading into Hulk's son or his general, I guess, family now, he's got to know about it.
Right.
Like he's probably known about it. It's just one of these things like it's a long distance thing and I got to be on Earth and protect Earth or whatever. I don't know. But
right.
Yeah, he's got 0 issues, it seems, going into space to go like where he's going.
Yeah, I don't know. It's Marvel, so it could be something that we won't find out for another year and a half, and then all of a sudden it'll pop up in a movie, and it'll be like, yeah, I remember that. Or it could just be nothing.
Yeah.
Or it could be something where he comes back at the end of the season, and like that's when we find out what he was doing. Like,
yeah, this is another one of those things where like I'm kind of not expecting to see Hulk until like maybe the very last episode.
She does get a job offer while she has been at this bar, and she's perhaps a little sad. She says that she's on a budget now. And the gentleman that she almost beat in her previous court case offers her a position at his firm because he said she was about to beat them and they want the best people. And she accepts, not really knowing why he wants her yet. She shows up on Monday morning when he tells her that she needs to be there. But he insists that she be there as She-Hulk, that he wants her to appear in court as She-Hulk. He wants her to be in the office as She-Hulk because he wants her to head up his new superhuman law division, which, that's the title of the episode. And at first, she's not into it. She doesn't want to be like the token super person at this law firm. And she especially has some reservations when she finds out that her first client is Emil Blonsky. Now, listeners of the podcast and people who are very familiar with the MCU will remember that Blonsky was the villain in the first Hulk movie, the Ed Norton Hulk movie. And so she says that she's got a conflict of interest because she obviously can't defend someone who almost murdered her family member. But the lawyer that she works for just kind of like shrugs it off and says, it'll be fine, whatever. Jen said that he had signed a conflict of interest waiver and asked her to go talk to him. And when she goes to meet him, she is surprised to find that he is very pleasant. He seems like he's changed. I would almost call this adorable. Like, he's definitely playing up the big puppy dog eyes. And he tells a pretty convincing story that his rampage happened because he was given a super soldier serum by the United States government. And that he thought that he was the good guy in this case, that he was supposed to be taking out a threat, the Hulk. And the way he put it was that he thought he was going to be like Captain America. And so you can see her legal brain working, thinking that she can definitely win this case. And again, Tim Roth is doing the big puppy dog eyes, and he's telling stories about how he has 7 soulmates whom he wants to go and be with after he gets out of prison. Said that they bought him a house, which is nice. Also, I noticed that Blonsky's holding cell looks a lot like the one that they used for Loki in the Avengers. So, interesting connection there.
Hey everyone, Drew here. Sorry to interrupt this episode of Agents of MACE, but if you listened last week, you know that this week we are announcing our first ever giveaway winner. The giveaway prize was the Spider-Man Homecoming Marvel Collector Core exclusive pop. So without further ado, a drum roll please. The winner is Brooke Irwin. Congratulations, Brooke Irwin. If you want the chance to win a giveaway like Brooke did, then check out our Instagram or our Facebook page, Agents of MACE. We'll post all of our giveaways along with rules and instructions for how to enter on our social media. So with that, back to the episode. I'm excited that we got a main Avenger in one of these shows because, you know.
We also get Hawkeye referenced quite a bit. I love the everyday people questions because like if this was real, if we were like in New York City and this is like legitimately happening, these are the questions I would probably ask, like who's going around picking up Hawkeye's arrows?
Yeah, I wrote down in my notes Hawkeye question equals valid because I mean even in the Hawkeye series, they didn't really, you know, he touched on the fact that like he runs out of special arrows and he has to make more, but like he also talks about how the shafts that he used for those arrows are like special Stark Tech shafts, and so he has to like get back as many as he can. So it is sort of like, okay, so wait, he has to like go back and like loot the battle scene and pick up all of his arrow shafts. So I mean, it's a good question.
It's like going from that into like, I don't want to be an Avenger. Do Avengers even get paid? Do they have healthcare? Do they have like vacation? Like, do they have maternity leave? Like,
right? Yeah. I mean, all solid questions.
I did like the little a moment near the beginning where they're kind of talking about like, you know, the billionaires that run things, and there is like the subtle DC Bruce Wayne Batman reference.
And
which goes up again. That's like, if I'm Batman, like, what do I do if I'm like throwing like batarangs everywhere, or like if I had to like disconnect, like, you know, like from my grappling gun, like a rope with the grapple, like, do I go back and pick those up? Like,
I know we're a Marvel podcast, but I did just recently read the original Red Hood saga, and there's a whole moment where Batman is having a crisis because Wayne Tech sold that part of the company or something, and so he didn't have access to any new gadgets, and so he's like, or no, they made it public. That's what it was. They made Wayne Tech public, so like he didn't have access to any gadgets now that like the regular person on the street couldn't buy. So he was like, I have to like keep the like few gadgets that I have that were prototypes a secret, and I can't use them all because then I'll be out. And it was like, yeah, that's a good point. Like, who's making your store of batarangs? Like,
I do like I like, let's bring this down to like low level, like, or like normal level, because like even the most people that have the most money in the world probably still deal with these kind of issues.
Right.
Like, it's just like these just grievances of like, I would, I don't know. I could drift on this. I feel like, depending on which Batman you're getting, like that's probably like part of like the Sons of Batman. It's like, okay, like I've used my gadgets. Y'all need to go around and get them.
Yeah. Is that Robin's job? Yeah, he has to go pick everything up.
No one has it like Spider-Man, where like Spider-Man, his web will just eventually like disintegrate after so many hours.
Right. Yeah. But I do, and that's another thing that I like about the Spider-Man. Like, of course, if I got the chance to be a Spider-Man, I would want to be Tobey Maguire Spider-Man and not have to worry about being smart enough to make all these web cartridges.
Yeah, it just happens.
Yeah. But I think that the introduction of web cartridges to Spider-Man makes it more air quote believable, realistic, if you will. So I enjoy that because it's like, he can run out, and then what does he do? I mean, he can still crawl on walls and stuff, but like,
but he's gonna have to jump as much as he can to get away,
and he can't even like go just pick up his old one, like it disintegrates. Right. So
it's pretty crazy.
I'm hoping that stuff like that will kind of play more into this season because, as much as I enjoy the like big action scenes and stuff, I think there's a lot that could be done with She-Hulk being a lawyer show and like her having to deal with stuff like that. Like I could see that being an issue, right? Like she has to represent Spider-Man because some neighborhood in the city is complaining that there's spider web around the light poles or something. Like I don't know. It's something that would be funny to see her have to like deal with in court as this weird superpowered issue.
Yeah.
Well,
so definitely, I'm just so curious to like how much will get brought up and how it will get brought up. Like if it's just going to end up being like these little background references because she's focused on this Abomination case that behind the scenes you're seeing like other members of the team are like dealing with like Kingpin or, like who are we going to see first? Are we going to see Daredevil or are we going to see Matt Murdock? 'Cause we know that Matt Murdock's going to show up at some point. So the question is like, how soon is that going to happen? Is, who is, will they have to go against each other? Or like, I don't know how all this works.
Yeah,
but
I had that thought because I have a feeling with my intuition about this being a bad situation with Abomination. I feel like the Matt Murdock stuff isn't going to happen until the end of the season. And it's going to be like the teaser for the next season or for the Daredevil show. But I have a feeling that whenever the Abomination stuff wraps up, the next case that they're going to put her on is a case where she has to protect Kingpin. Like she has to represent him and try to get him off on some charge or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's when Matt Murdock is going to like step in and be like, hey, why are you protecting Kingpin? And then the season's going to be over, and we're not going to find out what happens until Daredevil or She-Hulk 2 or whatever.
Yeah.
So
the next question on top of my mind, but to build up to that, is basically after talking to Smart Hulk, as he blasts off into space and they disconnect, she can now call back her new boss and be like, hey, I've resolved all the personal conflicts. I can take on this case. I'm ready to go. I've already have a plan. She's even like being super confident, like 100%. Like, I'm like, okay, really? Are you that good? And then it's just like, well, before we do anything, you may want to turn on the news. And then we see the moment from Shang-Chi where it shows Abomination has actually gotten out of prison and basically fighting Wong. And then I love like the end. It's just like looks back to the camera to talk directly to us, and it's just like, well, crap.
Yeah.
Like, that changes everything.
Yeah.
So I would expect from this, the next step would be like, well, I need to go find Wong.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious if she'll try to find Wong through Abomination, or if she'll try to go through like the Avengers, because at this point she probably can't connect with Smart Hulk.
Mm-hmm.
If he's on a whole nother planet now, like there's probably zero way for them to actually communicate. So like, what is she gonna do?
Well, does she even know who Wong is?
And she may not.
Yeah,
She
like,
may. Yeah, that may be
This
like
could be a maybe.
who are
Maybe
you with?
she's like interrogating Abomination, or maybe she's even just like looking through security footage to see how he got out, and she sees Wong like pop in and pull him through a portal or whatever. So, or maybe something crazy happens, and maybe that's not Abomination. I mean, like, it's all open. So,
hey, if we're bringing in mutants and there's a shape-shifting mutant that can just make themselves turn into Abomination, then that's kind of valid at this point. But, let's be real. Like, it's Abomination. And that was Wong. And they're fighting. And we know that where this took place and when this took place. So we kind of like get the timeline gist of things. Now, a lot of this is just like, who could show up at this point? If she sees that, like the rings, if she's aware, she's probably already aware of Wong, or at least Doctor Strange. So she knows how to go find Doctor Strange. What if Doctor Strange shows up? And because it's like, well, Wong's Sorcerer Supreme, so I really don't know where he's at, when he's at, and what's going on.
Right.
Like, best of luck. He may just get like that like a small moment where he's just very, just like, best of luck to you.
Well, it's interesting, like, when she's talking with her family and they mention the fact that they're like, it's not the first time we've had to deal with the Hulk in the family, and you didn't destroy a city. So I want to know, like, how much... I guess it's something that we don't know how much the average person knows in this world about the Avengers, but also, like, how much does her family know about Bruce and everything that he went through?
Yeah.
Do they know everything? Do they know that, did he come to them first and say, like, yeah, I'm the Hulk? Or did they find that out through him working with the Avengers? There's just, like, a lot of who knows what going on.
And you also got to look at, like, the past, the Incredible Hulk is, like, he, had a love interest. Did that love interest ever come to family dinners? Like, do they have more context of people that were very, very close to Bruce?
Right.
That can open up about some of this stuff.
Yeah.
There's a lot. There's, again, give us just 10 more minutes. Come on. I also read this morning that I guess the Marvel team had full control over the Daredevil suit.
Oh, okay.
Which is pretty cool. So like, they could do whatever they want with it. So yeah, hopefully that means we'll get to see like the new suit in action.
Like,
this season.
I hope so. I mean, I do hope that comes sooner rather than later. I just have a feeling that it will be like what we saw in the trailer is like what we're gonna get, and it's gonna be like the last thing we see. But who knows? Maybe that's next episode. I don't know.
We don't know.
Every time I think I know what's going on, they pull the rug out from under me and something completely different happens. So there's a lot of room.
Jen decides to reach out to Bruce and tell him that she's decided to take on Blonsky as a client and make sure that he's okay with it. And she also won't let him talk. He keeps trying to like engage in a conversation with her, but she's got things to say. She just kind of steamrolls him. And Hulk says that he and Blonsky have kind of made up. It says that Blonsky sent him a really nice letter with haikus, which he mentioned earlier. He's been writing a lot of very heartfelt haikus to each of his victims. And they kind of buried the hatchet. And whenever Jen asks if he's really okay with it, he says, yeah, I'm a completely different person now. Literally. Which is our fun little way of making that Ed Norton movie canon in the MCU. Like, we knew it sort of was, but this is how we're going to, like, patch that up. Be like, yeah, he's a whole different person now. He's changed in so many ways, including all of them. So whenever we zoom out here, we get something really interesting, which is that Bruce is on a spaceship, presumably headed towards Sakaar. So this is a big indicator that we might be getting that Son of Hulk storyline that I've heard so many people talking about, which would be interesting. I'd watch that movie. That could be cool. And it also, to me, feels like this is the last we're going to see of Bruce during this season. So we'll see. I would love to have more Bruce Banner by the end of this show's run, but I just don't know. It feels like a no, but I would be very happy to be wrong. So at the end, Jen gets back to the office. She's really excited to be defending Blonsky now, and she thinks she could win. She's bringing all of her legal know-how, all of her boss lady lawyer skills, and then she sees on TV that he escaped from prison and has been in that illegal fight club that we saw in Shang-Chi. Which is like, oh no. But I appreciated this moment, even if Jen didn't, because it tells us exactly where in the MCU timeline we are. This is during Shang-Chi. And that's kind of where we end for this week. She's got a pretty daunting task ahead of her. We did get a really cute mid-credits scene where she was helping her parents with stuff around their house. I didn't even talk about the awkward dinner scene with her family, but that was adorable. Whenever her dad is like, I told you not to say anything about her getting fired. And then her cousin was like, oh, I thought you said to talk about it. Isn't that the way that it always is with family dinners? And that is it. I am really enjoying She-Hulk so far. I think it's been so much fun. Really loving the character and the whole tone. And it feels really different from the other MCU shows. I guess it would be most similar to Ms. Marvel. But there are still a lot of differences there. That was more of a precious, tiny, teeny bopper. And this is definitely, it feels like a very like 90s female-led rom-com kind of thing. Very classic, very into it. And I can't wait for next week.
I guess, yeah, so moving into the post-credit scene this episode, we get to see her dad and brother, I guess, sort of taking advantage of the fact that she's She-Hulk. So she's helping them fix a car tire. She's helping them hang the TV on the wall, carry all the water inside, which I don't know if any of you listeners use those water jugs or water jug services, but we do. We have one of those Primo things, and boy, oh boy, whenever we buy like 5 of them at the store and come home and I have to take them in 2 at a time because you can't carry 5 at once.
Yeah.
That would be great. I would love to carry them like that. So it's fun. We said at the top.
I like the little back and forth with the family. Like, I'm glad you're staying hydrated, but don't you think it's a little excessive?
Yeah. And it's fun. Yeah, it is fun to see sort of like how Jen deals with being She-Hulk just in like everyday moments, which I feel like that's kind of what we're getting with these post-credit scenes, is just like her learning something new about being She-Hulk or dealing with something being She-Hulk. So I'm fine if that's what they want to continue, but you know, like we said at the top, I do hope that maybe they lean a little bit more into teasing stuff either for the future of this or teasing stuff for the future of She-Hulk in general, like where she could go, who she could end up fighting with.
Yeah.
So guess we'll find out. But yeah, I think it's a solid second episode. Set everything up. Now we're done with the origin. We're done with the setup. They can get straight into the meat of the season, and we don't have to do this ever again. Yeah. So that's the dream.
We won't know until next week, though.
Yeah, that's true.
I wonder how much is killing people that got access to the first 4 episodes.
Oh, I'm sure. I am sure.
Yeah.
Especially if the first 4 episodes were this. You'd be like, what's going to happen? And I have to wait a whole another month.
Yeah.
Do you have any final thoughts, or did we miss anything?
I just hope they just kind of to me, it's just like the whole like going down into like to meet Abomination, and you're just like in this like facility, and you're going through all these levels. Like, you knew they were setting up like, you know, the Hannibal Lecter-esque mentions and stuff, and like I'm okay with that if it's executed a little bit better. I hope they kind of like don't do so much of that. Even like the start of this episode, it's just like initially like, well, what are we gonna call this Hulk? Like Chick Hulk and Lady Hulk, and I don't know. I don't know why they do that. I get some of it, but I'm just like, I feel like it's overdone at this point.
Especially because that part of the show was like, I think I really enjoy She-Hulk so far because it's like, here's like a cool, strong female lead. And I feel like they did a lot in the first episode to make her that. And then in this episode, they were like, well, they literally can't call her anything else, right? Like, the character's name is She-Hulk. And so the fact that they brought it up and she was like, no, like, you can't call me She-Hulk. And they were like, Girl Hulk, Chick Hulk. And it was like, yes, this is all offensive, but like, what are they going to do?
Yeah. Because
the show's called She-Hulk.
Like the first thing is like Bruce is like, or Smart. I don't know. Do we call him Bruce or Smart Hulk or both? Or I don't know. But yeah, it's like, so have they picked a name for you yet?
Yeah, and she even mentions like having to be a derivative of the Hulk, and it's like, you're setting this all up like you guys are going to change the name, and that would be cool, but like, I feel like now you can't, because you've doubled down on the fact that the show's called She-Hulk, the character's called She-Hulk.
Yeah.
So it is weird that they spent a little too much time on that.
Yeah. The QR code in this episode takes you to issue number 1 of She-Hulk.
Oh, very cool. All right, free comics.
So first episode was the Savage She-Hulk. This one is just She-Hulk.
All right. Please stick with it, Marvel. I don't know why you guys started it and then took it away and then brought it back and then took it away again. Just stick with it. I mean,
yeah, definitely.
You know, it's not like they're giving away the whole novel version of it. You know, it's literally like a 15-page, 20-page comic book. You're not losing money. So hopefully that continues as well.
Yeah.
Well, definitely join us next week when hopefully we'll be into the story of what's going on in No More Setup. But maybe it will be setup. Who knows? Maybe we'll have Daredevil. We'll talk about that next week. I think for my question for you all this week is, what do you think the Hulk is up to? Do you think that this is going to come back and be a part of the season? Do you think it's their way of getting him just out of the picture? Or do you think that this is a setup for a future Marvel movie? Well, flip that. So yeah, let us know what you think in the comments. Again, the best way, we're really trying to spread this podcast around so that we can get bigger and do more things for you guys, and hopefully maybe even get like stuff early so we can talk about stuff early for you Patreon subscribers. So the best way to do that is word of mouth. That's kind of like the best viral marketing for podcasts. So if you enjoy this podcast and you have friends that like Marvel stuff, tell your friends. Maybe they'll enjoy the podcast too. And definitely keep an eye on our social media. We just did our first giveaway. We announced the winner earlier this episode. So that could be you next time we do a giveaway. So keep an eye on our social media. Make sure that you follow us, and you'll see all of the rules and such, as well as like what we're giving away. I may even start posting stuff on there just to kind of see, like, hey, here's like 5 pops. You know, what do you guys want? So yeah, keep an eye on social media, and we will see you all next week.